Hello. Welcome to the I Will Aim podcast. Discover a better version of yourself. I'm your host, Will Luken. Today, topic for today is sales, marketing, and personal brand. Now more than ever, it is important for us to know how we differentiate ourselves through marketing, sales, and personal branding. Let me do a quick introduction of our guest for today, Sandy Serrani. Sandy is a nationally renowned speaker and widely recognized as the most relatable subject matter expert in sales, marketing, and personal branding. With over 3 decades in the business, Sandy's reputation is built on his dynamic, real world, and engaging presentation style. He is the creator of the on his shirt, 7 pillars of killer business development, and a proven formula for sustaining success in sales and business development. Sandy has helped individuals and business owners in multiple industries all over the world with achieving massive success in revenue growth and business profitability. His goal is to make us laugh, think, learn simultaneously while we remind ourselves and appreciate their challenges and enjoy the opportunity we have, regardless of where we might be in our life, our career, or business right now. Good morning. Want to welcome Sandy.
Thank you, buddy. It's good to see you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a good way to start the day.
Well, we'll start the first question. Can you share a little bit about your journey? How you became a sales, marketing, and a personal brand expert?
I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version, Will, because I don't want to bore the audience to tears. And it literally starts way back at the age of like 7 or 8 years old. And I would, literally accompany my dad over to our family-owned dealership in Paramus, New Jersey. And, it was a Pontiac GMC and Isuzu dealership. And the thing that always attracted me was the excitement and I'd say the energy on the showroom floor on a Saturday, which is when I would go to work with him. And I really was always gravitating towards hiding behind, the corners and just watching everything that was going on and just being continually entertained and amazed by the interaction, amongst the people, the salespeople and the clients that were coming in to the dealership. And so for me, that was always the attraction. It was never about the cars. It was always about the people and of the business. And so that was my earliest introduction to what a sales environment would look and feel like. And it was such an incredible level of excitement, as I said before. Over the course of my career, the thing that I have always enjoyed the most is really body contact and hand-to-hand selling with people. I love to problem solve. I love to make people laugh. I love to solve challenges that they look at and say, I'm never going to be able to get through this. I'm never going to be able to figure this out. I've struggled with this, for the longest period of time, or what's the right decision to make? And I identified, as a result of my interaction with these folks, the ways that we could help people, relax, gain a little bit of confidence, and then ultimately help them make the very best decision possible for them. And so it's been a really fun, entertaining, sometimes difficult and challenging experience. But like anything in life, it's got its ups and downs, and you have to learn to appreciate all of it.
It's amazing. Your journey is so exciting. And the one thing that really resonate well with it is the people aspect of it,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes that's something that we don't take into account, that at the end of the day, it's people at the heart of how we do things. Then how did you branch sales marketing and move to personal branding? Because that's a bit more specialization.
Sure. Yeah, no question. Well, listen, you're familiar with that little thing they called the GM bankruptcy proceeding back in 2009? That was a tough time to be a GM dealer. And so I found myself having to reinvent who I was professionally and a little bit on the personal side as well, taking real inventory of who I am and what I really enjoy doing and what kind of value I would, represent in the marketplace moving forward and how to use that value to ultimately earn an income, right? And so I started to take a look at people that were in the world and in the business world specifically that really made an impression on me, that influenced me and impacted me in a way that gave me a feeling, deep inside. And I'm so glad to hear you say that this is all about people, because we live in such a data-driven,
Mhm.
technology-dominated world these days that it's very easy to lose sight of the fact that real, actual people are out there buying goods and services, products, services, and platforms, and they're buying them from real, actual people, and that's who they seek out in the marketplace. And so, when I started to build my brand, I did it because of an article I read on LinkedIn in
Hmm.
Forbes magazine back in 2010. And I was struggling at that point in time to develop a consulting practice, which is what I decided I wanted to do post dealership world. I knew that I knew how to sell, right? That was something that I was very, very good at. I always had a lot of fun doing it. I always enjoyed working with people. And so I figured out pretty quickly that, my world was pretty small at that point in time. People in the 07652 area code and the surrounding area codes knew who I was. But beyond that, I didn't have a regional or a national brand that I could work with. So I figured out I had to develop something along those lines. And I read an article on LinkedIn, and I made a conscious effort at that point in time to really develop my LinkedIn profile, which I hadn't spent much time developing. And so, again, I started to look around the LinkedIn world and see who had profiles, who was doing the kinds of things that I wanted to do. And I started to take little pieces from each and every one of them. I saw where branding became a really critical element to making sure people understand who you are, what you value, and ultimately what you stand for and can deliver to them, in terms of value. And so I started to get deeply interested in the art and science of personal branding and marketing, because I believe that that probably has more to do with your scalable success than your selling skills ever will.
I'm really indexing on the point that you said, the personal value that you bring. I think that's
Hmm.
ultimately is what differentiate each one of us from what we
Yeah,
do and how we go about doing things. What I really loved about what I hear from you too is you learn from the best of the best, right?
yeah,
I think that's one thing. It's you take a trait of one each of the person that you admire and looked up to, and you take each one of them. So I love the fact that you're a learner. You're sort of like a lifelong learner,
yep.
continue to evolve, and that's really really impressive and amazing. Let's now go to the second question. What are any pivotal moments in your journey that help you grow and develop? Because this is really like I think you mentioned one
Yeah,
already,
yeah,
the
sure.
GM period. I think what other period that you went through that helps you like dig deep and say, here's what I want to do and how I want to pivot.
Yeah, it's a great question, Will. I tell you that I think every one of us has more than one pivotal moment in life. The question is, do we recognize it for what it really is and the value it can deliver to us in terms of our growth, right? Personal and professional growth. Um, the real big one for me was 2008, the financial crisis, 2009, the GM bankruptcy proceeding. The world was kind of spinning on a wobbly axis at that point in time. I know you know as well as anybody because of your
Yes.
background what we were dealing with. And so that moment really shook me because I had tied most of who I was to the dealership world, to being a GM dealer. And ultimately, I lost a sense of who I was for a good, year to year and a half period of time and struggled with how do I figure out who it is that I want to be? At that point, I was in my 40s and struggling to figure out what was I going to do with the rest of my life. My wife Mary and my son Patrick, my daughter Anna, and my dog Shay depending on me at that point in time. I had to figure out like who I was going to be, what I was going to do, and how I was going to be able to deliver value so that we could in return earn an income. And so that moment was a real, kick in the rear end and a real wake up call to look at the bigger picture, which was I'm not going to be defined by a failure, if you will, or a previous position in life. I'm going to define who I am by who I am, right? The actual person. And so when I started to look at where I was going to go moving forward, as you said, I am a lifelong learner. I was looking around and I was saying, who has the kind of lifestyle and makes the kind of impact and influences people in a way that I appreciate and admire? And that really was the big moment for me, that 2008, 2009. Now we've gone through a couple of ups and downs, but I wouldn't call them pivotal moments, since then. But I think we're approaching a pivotal moment as we see a lot of changes in the world right now with respect to the advent of artificial intelligence,
Yes.
how that's going to impact all of us as we move forward. And so I'm preparing myself right now, and certainly my practice, in terms of how AI is going to impact what we do on a go forward basis. And I've got mixed feelings on that. But I think we're in the midst of another pivotal moment for all of us that we're not going to be able to avoid, that we're going to have to make some very difficult and very weighty decisions about what we do moving forward.
It's quite interesting the way you explain your journey, and what I get out of it is the word transformation.
Yes,
When you go through a rough patch, you figure out what do you do next, and you look at what the market needs. Like you said, you won't be defined by that moment. You that's part of your journey. It's one of the sort of like a stop in a train station where you
right.
stop there and it didn't turn out maybe that well, but the next stop you're figuring out what the next stop. It's really impressive how you'll be able to characterize and explain that. And really, it's the value at the end of the day is what value can you bring to the table that helps people move the needle. I want to ask you about sales right now. How did you master the art of sales? That's one thing I'm really not good at. So I'm really interested in learning from you.
So I'm going to qualify my answer and tell you that I don't know that I've mastered anything in life. I am in the process of attempting or working towards mastering things in my life, personally and professionally. But sales is something that I enjoy immensely. Selling, I should say, is something I
Selling.
enjoy immensely. I always bifurcate sales from selling because I think sales are things that we track and monitor and
Mm,
that we ultimately consummate. And selling is the actual interaction, that two-way experience that we have with our clients. And so um, the easiest way for me to answer that question, Will, is I identified the one quality that I believe every successful selling professional must have if they want to have sustained success over a long period of time. That's really fueled by repeat business and referrals. And I think that that is the most efficient and proficient way to build or scale, your sales. And so that quality is empathy, our ability to
yeah.
share with our clients, and it's a two-way street, right? We need to make our clients and prospects understand that we get them, not that we want to gotcha them, right? We want them to understand that we understand them, and then we can put ourselves in their shoes and treat them with the same level of respect and dignity that we expect each and every time that we're on the other side of that equation. And so I'm always keenly aware and observant of my behavior and how I interact with people because I want to make sure that I put them in a position where they feel calm and confident, okay, about the process that we're going to go through and the experience that we're going to have, and ultimately the decision that they're going to have to come to with my guidance and my help. It's really that simple.
It's really interesting the way you said empathy is what is needed. It's a secret ingredient.
Yeah,
And showing that you understand the needs of the client versus selling your features of the things that you're selling. And I
yeah,
remember reading an article about that that says a lot of the software salespeople they go in and says, "I have this feature X, Y, and Z, and they're going to make your life better." But you didn't ask me what my problem. And
right.
it's really a interesting moment. I'm learning from you that wow, first apply empathy, be empathetic, understanding their needs and how you are going to help them. Wow,
100%.
fantastic,
It's funny,
fantastic.
Will, because there's no shortage of these self-anointed, self-appointed selling gurus that are screaming into your social media feed on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And most of them are the ones that want to dominate. They want to dominate their competition. They want to dominate their clients. And it's all about this puffery, this bravado. And that really has nothing to do with selling success. People, real, actual people, do not relate to that. For me, the twin superpowers for successful and sustained successful selling is empathy and relatability, right? Your ability to relate to the people that are sitting across from you. And I don't know too many people that relate to the people that are screaming into your social media feed
No.
on a daily basis. Now, it may look good and sound good because they come across as people that are very confident. For me, I read right through it and I see nothing but arrogance. And I see, quite honestly, people that are hiding some of their own insecurities and masking it with this false sense of bravado And I don't ever operate that way. I don't think that that's the right way to do things. I think people are looking for, as I said, real, actual, relatable people that understand and get them, and then ultimately want them to help them make the very best decision possible for them.
And I think I like the way you explain it. That at the end of the day, when you peel the onion of what you said, it's really humility. You're not going out there
Absolutely.
and telling people, I'm the master and I guarantee you that you make X, Y, and Z. But I understand your problem, right? And I think to me that's really what also build what I call relationship, because I'm in IT, and I always tell people we're in a people business. We're
Yeah.
developing solution for the business, but we're in the people business. So we need to build that relationship with our people, where people need to understand that we're there for them. It's really amazing that no matter which facet of the business you go to, that's key, right? Being empathetic of people, understanding, being able to relate to people, and establish good relationship with one another.
I love that you're coming from an IT perspective, yet you're tying the success to the people piece of it, right? And I think we lose sight of that very often. When we talk about selling, we're talking about ultimately first serving the people that we want to sell to, right? We want to serve first
Yeah.
and then sell as a result of the service that we deliver. And from an IT background, it's amazing, and I applaud you because you get it. You get it in a way that most of the folks in the tech world do not get it. They look at scale, they look at a lot of math. And for me, it's very rarely about the math. It's really about making a difference. If you make a difference in the lives of the people that you're serving and you want to sell to, the dollars will always follow.
True, very true. At the end of the day, who's the person, just like in sales, say in selling, who's the person that interact with the audience? Your people. The
Yep.
software is there, the programming language is there, but it's the people that put things together and make it work. To your point, I've been studying AI for the past 6 months. AI is
Yeah.
here to stay. I remember the days where computer first came out, and I said to myself, wow, I want to learn, computer programming, because
Right.
this is going to be here to stay. And I have friends that saying, why? It's so expensive. Who's going to pay so much money for a computer?
Oh,
Guess what?
right.
I built almost 34 years of career in computer. And when I saw AI, it's the same eureka moment. I looked at AI a year and a half ago, and I said, it's not there yet. But late last year, I said to myself, it's there. I need to learn how
Yeah.
to use it. And then from that point on, how do I connect the human aspect of it and being able to leverage or tap into the golden opportunity and take it to the next level?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's gonna represent some incredible breakthroughs. It's also going to represent some incredible challenge for us on a go forward basis. Like anything out there, there's the duality,
Yes.
of it in terms of the good that it can do and the evil that it can actually do. And I think we've got to be really careful. I like the word harness. I'd like to see us harness AI.
Yep.
The
Absolutely.
sad reality is the people that are in the process of developing the AI technology, like any other population of people, there are both people that have good intentions and people that have what I'll call questionable intentions. But we've got to be aware of what's happening. And again, it's going to be that pivot moment for all of
Yeah.
us. And how it's going to affect and impact you is something that we should all be taking a look at right now.
To add to that one, I think the ethics and the governance part of it is
Yes.
immensely important. And that's what
Yes.
I'm actually doing a double down on, because the more you could learn and teach people the ethics of AI and the importance of being able to say it needs to be governed, you can't just let loose and do whatever it wanted, because at the end of the day, it's important to make that ethical decision when it comes down to rubber meets the road.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, you and I are members of the same parish, so we see each other, at mass from time to time. And I'm no expert on the Bible, Will. I've probably
Neither
violated
do
11
I.
of the 10 commandments, right? So, but I would say this to you, with respect to the scope of the moment that we are facing right now as it relates to AI, it is biblical in nature, and certainly in scope when you take a look at the impact that it can have globally and then beyond, right? So
Yes.
it's going to be really incredible to see. I think accountability is critical. I think that that tucks right into the ethics conversation. The governance piece, I'll withhold my commentary because they have disappointed us wildly on both sides of the political aisle. But good Lord, and they don't understand it, to be honest with you.
Yes.
What they do understand is this, who's coming to the party with the right check. But we've got to be aware of what's happening because I think, as you said, it's that pivotal
Yep.
moment that's about to hit all of us.
Yep. It's that pivotal moment that would change the world dramatically, depending
Hmm.
on which path we take. Right.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
one thing I want to ask, because this is really important for people who wants to learn how to do selling, how
Hmm.
to do marketing. What's the one advice you had for people who's starting their career and say, I want to try sales. Which path do I go? Marketing, which path do I go? Because
Right.
I look at personal branding as something that you do a bit later. And maybe you could tell me, like, no, that's not it. You probably do it early too.
Well, so I would say that you're doing them all
Oh,
simultaneously, right? And so sometimes you're investing more of your energy and resources in one versus the other two, for sure. I really tuck personal branding under the marketing side,
ah,
okay, more so than sales. But what I would say is this: I always want to be crystal clear on who I am, right? I think it's critically important for us to understand who we are. And so I always pose this very simple question to get people started when it comes to personal branding. And that is, what two or three words do you want people to say about you, professionally and or personally, after having had an interaction or an experience with you? All right. And be crystal clear about that, and think through what those two or three words are. You want to go three, four, five, that's fine. But you need to get crystal clear on who it is that you want to be in the marketplace. And it should be the very essence of who you are. And that dates back to a paper that I did in college. I had a professor, Professor Heilmeyer, and she had us do a self-perception paper, which I still have up in my
oh,
office. And the reason why I reference that is because that paper forced me to take a very introspective look at who I was, but it also forced me to ask people in my life the same questions I was asking myself. And I think it becomes really important that carpets have to match the curtains, if you will. So who we are on the outside should be exactly who we are on the inside. It should be representative of who we are on the inside because we want people to look at us as transparent, as relatable and trustworthy. And the easiest way to blow up the trust factor is to not be the person that they see, out in social media or in marketing that they actually meet when they meet you in person or have an experience with you. So I think the first thing I would tell you is to be true to who you are. Shakespeare said it best, right? To thine own self be true.
I love the fact that you index on what I call authenticity.
Yes.
You're not just doing it because you're selling and you now have two different persona. I co-authored a book with a bunch of people, 21 people globally, on authentic character-based leader, and I
Yeah.
really believe in character-based leader. And everyone that I work with, that I train to be leaders, I always focus on you do what you say you would do,
Yeah.
and in fact, do first before you say, because people are watching. And even us as
Absolutely.
parents, I always tell my wife before that no matter what we say to our kids, they watch us. They watch and observe what we do, and then they follow. And if your
That's
words
correct.
and action are not the same, it's really amazing how that have correlation to learning how to sell, doing your marketing, your personal brand, because ultimately you're not just selling for the sake of selling. You're actually selling what really your value propositions are. And if that's disconnected, then it's a bit of like, people would question you, like, why are you doing that? So thank you for sharing that. It's really interesting for our audience to actually learn that.
Yeah. No
Be
question.
authentic to yourself, do what say you would do, and really being empathetic and understanding the problem of your client. I think I just want to give you a moment to share the current work that you're doing and how my audience interact with you. I'll put the link on your website
Sure.
in the post, but I like to give you some time to share with the audience the work that you're doing right now, maybe the most current project. I remember you mentioned you have an event coming up. Share that event, and then how does the audience reach out to you?
So listen, I appreciate that. We work with B2B and B2C individuals and businesses on sales and business development, and that's our focus, right? We touch leadership as well because I think that if I was to put an equal sign between the word leadership and selling, I think it would be appropriate. And so we work on all three of those pieces. We are in the process right now of launching a virtual academy. It's Academy 365, where we're going to cover all three of those topics. And we've got our first event coming up on March 14th at 2:15 Eastern Standard Time. It's a free webinar. It's going to be about 45 minutes. That'll include some Q&A. If it runs over, it runs over. If we've got more questions, we're not going to cut it off. We're going to keep answering the questions that our audience has. And you can go right to sandycerami.com/3-step webinar, all one word, sandycerami.com/3-step webinar. And our website is the easiest place to find us, sandycerami.com. But I'm on all the social media platforms that we work with, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as YouTube. And I make it easy to find me, Will. I think that's another important lesson for all of us that are in sales and business development is, make yourself easy to find, be conspicuous in the marketplace, and share all of your contact information. My mobile phone number is on all of my social media
Wow.
profiles for a reason. I want to be accessible. That doesn't mean I can always pick up the phone. There are times where it'll take me 24 hours to get back to someone if they call. But, whether it's a text, a phone call, an email, a private message, we're going to meet you wherever you are, wherever you're most comfortable. Because one of the ABCs of our 7 pillars of killer business development is always be communicating. Okay. And so we want to be
The heart of
communicative.
selling.
Exactly. We want to be available. But, as I said to you, we make it easy for people to find us and to connect with us. And I would invite all connections. I am an open networker because I think that the power of your ability to network will deliver the kind of results that you're looking for professionally in your life.
Thank you, Sandy. Last but not the least, did you bring something to share, or what takeaway do you want my audience to have about today's session?
Yeah,
Any?
so I do. I want to you touched upon it, and you said the word authenticity. And the ABCs of selling and business development. If we go back to Glenn Ross, everybody knows the scene with Alec Baldwin where he says ABC, always be closing. Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm a detractor. I do not believe in the always be closing philosophy. I think it's the single biggest mistake that folks can make. Now, is closing a deal important? Yes, but attempting to close people, I think, is the single biggest mistake that we make. I want you to always be creative, always be communicating, always be curious. Okay, always be doing the things that people value. And people don't want to be closed. They want help in making the very best decision possible for them. And if you're your most genuine, authentic self and are focused on helping them make the very best decision possible for them, then I think success is inevitable. And as I said before, if you make a positive difference in their life and in their decision-making process, the dollars are always going to follow.
Thank you, Sandy. Really appreciate you today. As I do my closing, I want to thank everyone for listening to this episode. Really want to thank Sandy. Really appreciate you. If you like, please share with your friends. I'll put Sandy's link at the bottom so you could actually reach out to him. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you, Will.